There are certain movies in our world that get better as time goes on. Some that maybe started off not so great become cult classics in the future. Some famous examples include things like Fight Club or even The Shining. However, when it comes to blockbuster franchises, this trend is extremely rare. If a movie is good in a franchise, it usually stays good. That is except for the Harry Potter franchise. This is probably my favorite series of films of all time. I have poured like a crazy amount of time into the lore of this series, books and movies alike. I mean, the first video I ever made on this YouTube channel way back in high school before I even took a break for college was about Harry Potter. I talked about how I saw the films of Prisoner, Goblet, and Order as their own independent trilogy. But never mind that now. This franchise has gotten a lot of spotlight in the media these past few months of 2025 with the slow announcements of HBO's TV show reboot for the series. I thought I would have lived a full lifetime or at least had kids like the Golden Trio before something like this would occur. The gradual cast announcements have made me revisit the Harry Potter films, discuss them with my friends, and watch many reviews and rankings online. And I've never seen the thoughts on these movies in this franchise change so drastically since the mid-2010s, after everything came out. Some things never change though. The Fantastic Beasts movies are still ass, one of the reasons why this series still has stayed in the limelight of people's minds and made people love the Harry Potter films even more. Chamber of Secrets is still easily the worst film in the franchise, and Prisoner of Azkaban is still considered one of the best, and my thoughts have stayed that way too. But one trend that has been very interesting is the slow reversal of the two Deathly Hallows films in people's lists. I remember when all 8 movies came out, everyone was going crazy over Deathly Hallows Part 2, with it being such a heavy payoff of everything. So many iconic moments that everyone loved it and put it as a top 3 Harry Potter film. Deathly Hallows Part 1, though, was used as a constant source of criticism of Hollywood's greed. Why are we splitting our final film? This movie is so boring, it's all set up. Our heroes are just walking around aimlessly in the woods the whole time. Everyone hated this movie, including me. Everyone just wanted to skip ahead to the finale. But now that things have settled down and most franchises have stopped this whole splitting movies trend, I mean, the last time we saw this was, like Mission Impossible earlier this year, but that was different, I'm telling you. But even before that was Infinity War and Endgame, way back in like 2018. Time has passed now, we're getting close to the real 19 years later now, and after rewatching the movies recently, I realized that my thoughts on the Deathly Hallows movies have completely switched. Deathly Hallows Part 2 feels more like an event with what doesn't feel like its own movie, but rather a culmination of everything this series has built up to. Which is fine, but it makes it hard to judge as a movie. There's some things I really don't like the awkward Gringotts sequence or rushed climax. But that's not what I want to talk about in this video. What I want to talk about is the movie's predecessor, Deathly Hallows Part 1. This is like a perfect Part 1 movie. Every time I have rewatched this movie, it's just better and better. Especially from a film nerd perspective, where it incredibly succeeds in the 3 avenues of plot, theme, and character. Film reviewers have slowly begun to realize this and change their thoughts about this as well, so much so that casuals have started to catch on. This is a really good movie, and today we're going to explore why. We're going to explore what this movie does that makes it so special and why it seemed to age better than any other film in the series. So much so that it's gone from bottom of the barrel to top 3. One thing everyone seems to touch on when they think Deathly Hallows Part 1 is that it's mainly a boring sequence of our golden trio in the woods. And that couldn't be further from the truth. Is that a major part of the movie? Yes, which actually does work, and we'll get to that in a bit. But unlike other Part 1 films, it feels very much like its own movie. Its 3 acts are easily distinguishable, the pacing is incredible, and the story feels fairly complete for a single movie. But above all, it's extremely unique to any other Harry Potter film, because it's the first one not set in Hogwarts, which makes the set pieces and story feel really cool and kind of fun to play with. Each of the locations and set pieces of the movie are all distinct and add a lot of world building. No area feels the same, no action scene feels the same, no act feels the same. It's not all wood scenes. I mean, Act 1 has this really depressing start, which we'll talk about in the tone section, but the movie really starts to take off with the 7 Potters sequence. This is arguably the biggest action scene in the movie, which is really weird for it to be in the very first sequence, but it's not like the Harry Potter movies are action oriented. Half-Blood Prince has like none besides the dumb Burrows attack, which is completely pointless. Meanwhile, the best in the series, Prisoner of Azkaban, has like none. Deathly Hallows Part 1 also has a very different action scene than we're used to, as it's a chase scene. Other than that, the other acts in the movie never really repeat the same beats, all while feeling just a little familiar. Gotta applaud J.K. Rowling for the set pieces here all being nods to things we've encountered through the series, but with a twist. The trip from Privet Drive to an Order safe house has been done before, and even to the Burrow. but a chase scene from it, that's new. We get an infiltration set piece with the Ministry of Magic, where our heroes use Polyjuice Potion like they did in Chamber of Secrets, a dark mental battle with a part of Voldemort, this time just for Ron, an exposition scene from an all-knowing yet untrustworthy source that gets them in trouble, especially from a character we interacted with in the movie, and even an emotional, fightless really, climax in a location our heroes have never been to, yet was hinted at throughout the movie. Even the Godric's Hollow excursion feels different because it's surprising, it's a setback against our heroes, and it even isn't a generic wizard duel. Instead, it's a snake attack. All these set pieces feel like a completely different obstacle, all while being connected through a well-told and well-paced plot. I mean, thinking about it now, the Gringotts plotline wasn't as memorable because it was just another infiltration plot with Polyjuice Potion that really was just a worse version of the Ministry of Magic one. Thank God it's not in this movie. But even with all these cool set pieces occurring, we gotta address the main complaint: the woods. Yes, it's slow. Yes, it's long. But that's what makes it work. The reason this movie and the set pieces work so well is because they're fast, grand, and juxtaposed with the tense, mundane, and unraveling sequences of the woods. These wood scenes are needed to slow down the narrative and give time for the characters to breathe, reset, and allow for the passing of time. This structure works because of these scenes. I mean, the initial prologue clues you in that this movie is going to be slow and dark. It's not like the chase scene starts the movie. It is, however, a good way to grow stakes and bring dumb action, and that adds to the story. Then Act 1 follows a good pattern of slowing down, introducing this newer, darker world, and then immediately jumps our heroes into the journey. Meanwhile, Act 2 ups the stakes with the Ministry sequence that doesn't allow them to go back to Grimmauld Place, forcing them into the woods. And it's not like these wood scenes have nothing happening. Using the locket as this tense thing over their heads was a brilliant decision. But the main thing that I find rather interesting is that the midpoint of the movie isn't a grand spectacle, but an emotional boiling point between Harry and Ron. It's genuine, shocking, and really changes the trajectory of the story without the need of a crazy big sequence. Then Act 2 continues with the Godric's Hollow event that really has shown the passing of time, eventually leading to the end of Act 2 with the destruction of the locket. Is it a bit coincidental that the sword just randomly shows up? Yeah, but that's like my only gripe. Ron's arrival is great and really has a good test for him before Act 3, where we get the exposition about the Hallows and then leading to an explosive and emotional climax in Malfoy Manor, this spooky place we've heard a lot about. The only thing looking back that I wish we avoided was the shaky cam chase. We already had a chase, and it's also just incredibly hard to watch and feels coincidental. The story would have been better if they just got captured at the Lovegoods. It would have saved time, avoided a redundant and incoherent sequence, and been a good consequence of the heroes being sidetracked with the Hallows instead of the Horcruxes, which should be their focus. But hey, even with that aside, the pacing of the movie works because there is enough time for our characters to sit and wallow instead of constantly be blown up with action. I mean, the other movies had this in disguise too, except it was our cast sitting around Hogwarts instead of the woods. The other movies just decided to give that downtime to give the side characters some depth instead of the Golden Trio. Which brings us to our next point of the brilliant decision of the woods and Deathly Hallows Part 1, the focus on the Golden Trio. This movie feels more personal and events feel character-driven rather than plot-driven. Our Golden Trio consistently makes conscious decisions to go to various places on their journey based on their needs. It's not like the plot pushes them there, the characters act to go there, especially with Godric's Hollow or the Lovegoods Place. This makes for a nice change of pace as we get to really see the decision-making and mental states of our heroes. We get so much downtime with them that we get to see them unravel, struggle, and grow. Those wood scenes in particular really showcase this. This movie gives more depth to the entire Golden Trio dynamics and arguably each one of their characters on their own. Besides Harry, who more shines in Order of the Phoenix and Prisoner of Azkaban, no wonder those movies are so good, but even in this one, he gets a decent amount of depth with constantly questioning his mission and not wanting people to die for him. It's small, yet effective. I love how he questions Dumbledore in particular. Those scenes are fantastic. But the real stars of the show are Ron and Hermione. Every other movie in the series barely gave them anything to do. 1 and 2 were fine because they were kids and not much was going on, but they had their moments. But then 3, 4, and 5 really relegated them to supportive NPC roles, which was also fine, I guess, because those movies had other things to focus on, in particular Harry and setting up Voldemort, but by number 6, I was starting to think if the series had just forgotten about them. They were given a lot of stuff to do in 6, but it was just romantic angst stuff. I never got to see their strengths, flaws, interests, like what the hell. But thank God this movie decided to change all that. Another reason to thank the wood scenes for that, because of how isolated the Golden Trio was from society, they could only interact with each other, and thus, we as the audience could only see them. This movie had the brilliant choice of eliminating pretty much all the supporting cast the series was known for. Many do appear in the movie, but have like 1 to 2 scenes compared to the usual prevalence they have. I mean, think about it. Snape, 1 scene. Malfoy's, 2 scenes. Neville, 1 line. Ginny, the Weasleys, and the rest of the Order are never seen after Act 1, and the Hogwarts professors, who are normally mainstays in the movie, aren't even in the movie. This was a great choice because it worked for building up until the second part, but mainly because it allowed time for the Golden Trio. Ron and Hermione really stand out here because the movie actually gives them time. The Harry Potter movies overall really suffered for making Hermione unbelievably intelligent with no real flaws, while Ron was relegated to dumb best friend. This movie, however, corrects both those things, showing some of Ron's real strengths as a friend and person, as well as some of Hermione's emotional flaws. Let's talk Hermione first. The movie not only shows her intelligence and cleverness, with scenes like discovering the true purpose of the sword, being prepared when things go haywire during the wedding, and trying to understand the meaning of the Hallows, but it also shows her emotionally tortured side. She is tested a lot in this movie, from her first scene where she erases her parents' memories, to her torture at the hands of Bellatrix. The movie even shows her hair growing longer throughout the journey, and she is really shown to be depressed after Ron leaves. Also, her unrepented anger at Ron when he comes back is super real and doesn't end immediately. She's genuinely a layered character in this movie. Ron is done even better. After years of being dunked on, this movie really shows how supportive and emotional he is. His dedication to the mission is constantly tested, and I love the decision of him actually giving up and having this devastating confrontation with Harry. Ron is super complex in this movie. He's more vulnerable due to being sensitive and having an actual family whose lives are being affected in this war. The movie, however, goes out of their way to still give him moments of heroism and support. He is the one to prevent Harry from leaving on his own in the first act, and then he is the one to later come back, save Harry, and destroy the locket. Because each character is so different and flawed, it makes their dynamics so great. Ron and Hermione's relationship feels more real than ever, with small moments showing their closeness and vulnerability. He's there for her, for example, in the end, after the Bellatrix ordeal, and their bickering feels so real throughout the movie, especially when she's angry when he comes back. Harry and Ron's relationship is also great, their support and eventual emotional boiling point. But the very underrated one is Harry and Hermione. Besides Prisoner, none of the movies really have Harry one-on-one with Hermione, and this movie really gives time to explore that relationship. I don't know why people think that Harry and Hermione should have ended up together, because this movie really shows that they don't have romantic chemistry. It shows how supportive they are as friends, and thus are completely platonic. And nothing shows that better than their awkward dance, which was a completely new scene from the books. I love this scene. Not only does it work for the tone and theme, but it really characterizes their relationship for me. In general, all the characters in the trio are tested so well, and we really need to get to see how much they care and need each other. Hermione is intelligent and equipped, but needs rationality and support. Ron is emotional and sensitive, but needs people to keep him in check. And Harry, he is strong and determined, but can't do things on his own. All of them will fail to the darkness without each other, and that's the real beauty of this movie, something that the tone and themes really emphasize. Speaking of, this movie really does share a lot of similarities with Prisoner of Azkaban when it comes to the themes and tone. Although this movie doesn't use Dementors to show this darkness in the world, the movie does have this dark setting where it is difficult for our characters to feel hope. They must realize that they need each other to survive, and although the themes aren't as spelled out for us as the previous films, what is more present is the tone. The Harry Potter films are known for getting darker as the movies go on. I mean, look at their logos. But the thing is, so many of the past movies are already really dark for fantasy kids movies. So, what does this movie do to show that things are different and even darker? Well, it takes all the settings and world we've gotten to know, and shows the progression of Voldemort's control, to really show how brutal, gloomy, and dark this world has become. It already started doing that in the previous movie with Diagon Alley, but that's like really it. It then continues that with Hogwarts in Part 2, which was a good decision. See, Act 1 feels really standard, with things like the Ministry still intact, and a wedding for the characters to look forward to. But the moment Act 2 begins, everything completely shifts. When the characters are staying in Grimmauld Place, the passing of time that shows Voldemort's takeover of the Ministry is a great upping of stakes. This whole new motto of the Ministry being all like, "You have nothing to fear, if you have nothing to hide," is like so fucked up and insane, and I love it. The Ministry sequence as a whole is just incredible. It's super tense, and I love the political angle it takes. But even after that, when the characters end up in the woods, The movie slows down, but continues to really show this darker tone with how disheveled the world has become, with the characters traveling between abandoned areas and having to constantly avoid being discovered by this new thing of the Snatchers. The Snatchers, by the way, are a great addition to make this world really feel unsafe. There's a lot more shaky cam with a handheld camera, constant pans, and a lot of extreme close-ups. As a film nerd, this starts to really stick out and really adds to the tone. The use of the radio as background sound is also a great addition that makes the characters not only feel disconnected, but also grow their annoyance. Something that is especially emphasized with the locket. I knew I wanted to talk about one of the most disgusting additions to the story eventually. I discussed it in my MacGuffins video a bit, but essentially, the idea of having this wearable necklace that acts like an evil ring of Sauron, causing our heroes to get at each other's throats, was a brilliant decision. It adds conflict to these slower scenes and really characterizes and brings out the flaws of our golden trio. Without the threat of this locket, our heroes would be just sitting around with nothing to really impact them. It acts as a catalyst for their deteriorating mental state, all while during the journey, they continue to question everything because there are a lot of things that the trio doesn't know. You know, when people say our heroes are really just walking around aimlessly trying to figure out what to do, they're honestly not wrong, but that to me is the appeal. I mentioned before that the woods makes for a darker tone, a slower pace, and stronger characterization for our golden trio. But one thing that it really works towards is just how much the characters don't know and question. The Harry Potter movies in general are not just fantasy coming-of-age movies, but actually more mystery whodunits. Each one has the characters focused on trying to solve this movie-long mystery. This movie is no different. This one's focus is about the Deathly Hallows, but instead of just being one question of, what are the Deathly Hallows, it's instead a bunch of small questions that adds to this big overarching mystery. It's actually a good twist on the mystery idea by J.K. Rowling. We have three main mysteries here: the mysterious symbol, Voldemort's search for a new wand, and Dumbledore's past. And that's not to mention all the stuff with the Horcruxes. What are they? How did they destroy them? Where is the sword of Godric Gryffindor? The movie keeps asking more questions too, with the Snitch and Silver Doe, that yes, doesn't get answered until the next movie, because it's a part 1, but everything else is hinted at or at least answered just enough. The mystery of the Deathly Hallows, for example, isn't the main focus of the movie like the main mystery is in other films. Instead, it's the Horcruxes, and the Hallows are a distraction that the characters still should know about, but not seek out. The Deathly Hallows is more seen as dark lore and subtext that, if you noticed, all three main mysteries connect to. The main symbol that keeps popping up is, of course, the Hallows from old lore, which is exposition to us in a fantastic story. Voldemort's search for a wand has him searching for the Elder Wand, one of the main Hallows, and Dumbledore's past connects to his initial search for the Hallows when he was younger. Initially, I thought that the thing this movie messes up is the impact of Dumbledore's past. I remember really loving it in the books, and while part of me wishes they slightly addressed it near that second half, I realized that the mystery of Dumbledore's past is more of a piece of lore to be explored somewhere different one day. It connects to the movies but doesn't need to be fully explored like it is in the books. It's why I hate the Fantastic Beasts movies so much. They completely messed this up. Also, it's not like it's completely pointless. Dumbledore's past is what leads to the dangers in Godric's Hollow and further explorations of the Hallows, like getting in trouble with the Lovegoods. This movie is an endlessly rewatchable Harry Potter movie, but not like the other ones we've seen in the franchise. But that to me is what makes it so good. It's much slower pace, while having unique set pieces makes for a fantastic plot. The increased emphasis on characterizing the Golden Trio makes for a fantastic character, and the dark tone mixed with the shifted world makes for a fantastic theme. And to add the cherry on top, the mysteries of the Hallows is just a clever piece of lore that is explored just enough while not being the main focus, serving mainly as subtext for the journey. This movie hits so many notes for what makes a good movie, but notes that are atypical for a fantasy Harry Potter film. It's why many people didn't appreciate it when it first came out. And as time has gone on, people are starting to see it for the differently aesthetic piece of art that it's trying to be. And I think as more time goes on, this movie will just keep getting better and better, before it may even become the best movie in the franchise. Thanks for watching, everybody. What do y'all think of Deathly Hallows Part 1? Is it better than Part 2, and has this video helped in maybe seeing that? Or am I just completely crazy and Part 2 is just so satisfying? Tell me your thoughts and rankings of the Harry Potter movies in the comments below. Additionally, if y'all liked this video, please give it a like and subscribe for the algorithm. If we can get to just 1,000 views, I will do a discussion of my favorite scene in the Harry Potter franchise, the one in this movie, the tale of the three brothers. I made sure not to discuss it as much as possible in this video, as I really think a whole video devoted to it would be more fun to play with. But again, Please like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks again, and have a good day.